want to talk about what needs to be done in order to move forward. Now, if we continue to believe the myth that somehow negotiations are going to make this all better, then we're going to see the exact same situation, but worse, in a few years' time. So it's no longer acceptable for us to hide our heads in the sand and somehow say there are indirect talks or direct talks or whatever it is talks between these two entities, because there is no parity between the Palestinians and between the Israelis. So the question becomes, what is it that we can do? And what it is that we can do is we have to begin to hold Israel accountable. In the past year and a half alone, the level of criminality that Israel has engaged in far exceeds that of any other nation around the world. In January of 2009, Israel committed a massacre against Palestinians, despite the fact that Israel ended up using excuses saying that Hamas fighters were hiding in civilian areas, they were hiding behind mosques, they were hiding in hospitals. All of this has been disproven very clearly by the number of international organizations who've come in and who actually examined what Israel's actions were in January 2009. And yet Israel has not been held to account for its actions in January 2009. Just recently thereafter, Israel continues to build more and more and more settlements in the West Bank. Again, these settlements are illegal under international law. But what use is international law if Israel's not held to account for this? In the past year alone, 105 houses in the Jerusalem area alone were demolished. Israel was not held to account for the demolition of 105 houses, leaving more than 500 Palestinians homeless. In the past year alone, Israel ended up using your passports, by the way, to go out and carry out, to assassinate somebody in Dubai. Again, Israel wasn't held to account. And most recently, Israel ended up killing 9 individuals in order to maintain an illegal blockade. It's a blockade. The blockade itself is a form of collective punishment, which is under international law, a war crime. So the question becomes, is Israel going to be allowed to continue to carry out these actions? Or is it not going to be allowed to carry out these actions? And this is why it's so important that we recognize that my struggle is your struggle is my struggle, that we as people are connected all around the world. And this is where I know Australia is so far away from Palestine. I came, it's 31 hours on my flight, but we are much more connected than we really think that we are. This is why I think the boycott, divestment, and sanctions campaign is the only way that we have to move forward. We can no longer continue to focus on negotiations. We can no longer pray and hope that somehow governments are going to do the right thing. They're not at all. If they haven't done the right thing in 62 years, they're not going to suddenly start doing the right thing unless we force them to do the right thing. So what should we be boycotting? What should we be divesting from? How should we be imposing sanctions? First is we need to boycott Israel. It's not just a question of boycotting Israeli consumer goods. We need to boycott Israel. It's Israeli institutions, the Israeli government. Just in the same way that the Hamas government was boycotted by the international community, so too this government, which is much more extreme than the Hamas government, should also be boycotted. This is a government that has called for the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. They should be boycotted. Their institutions should be boycotted. Their goods should be boycotted. Israel should not be allowed to continue to act as though everything is fine and dandy and somehow this process is all going to go away with negotiations. The second is divestment. I know that some of the unions have superannuation funds. I think that the superannuation fund should be really examined very closely to see whether they are investing in any of the Israeli military machine or in any of the companies that are supporting the Israeli military machine, whether it's Caterpillar, whether it's Motorola. Motorola provides all the surveillance equipment along the wall and in the settlements, or other companies. I would hope that the unions look into that. I hope that the students look into that, because all of your universities also have funds. And the third thing is sanctions. We have to now start pushing for sanctions against Israel. I firmly believe that these sanctions are not going to come from above. I can't hold my breath any longer hoping that the UN is going to do something. It's not going to do anything. But I firmly believe that it's only when we begin to recognize that your struggle is my struggle and my struggle is your struggle that we'll be able to move forward. I'm going to stop here and leave it open for questions, and thank you very much.